Hey, I'm Victor Lucas. Welcome to Film Fury. My buddy Johnny Millennium could not join me for a screening of Pacific Rim Uprising, which was one of my most anticipated movies for 2018. I was a huge fan of the first Pacific Rim, so even though it's a very busy week for Johnny and for me, I had to sneak out and see this flick. And I have to tell you, I was, pleasantly entertained by this movie. It certainly isn't better than the first Pacific Rim. It certainly lacks a certain menace and a certain, edginess that I think was a big part of the joy of the first movie. This movie feels like it's been, kind of engineered to appeal to a wider audience, to bring in more families and more kids, and it neuters the experience a little bit, but it's still entertaining. There's still some really cool stuff, and if you're worried that they skimped on the budget and there aren't these incredible Kaiju versus Jaeger fights in this thing, you don't have to worry about that because the battles are epic and incredible and monstrous and just something to behold. The little hairs on the back of your neck, if you're a big nerd like I am, start to go up and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe what I'm looking at. And that's all fun. Actually, and the cast members are actually pretty competent in this. I like John Boyega as our new hero. He plays Idris Elba's son in this, even though Idris Elba doesn't have any scenes or anything like that. They just have a couple of little image flashbacks to him, and then Boyega references his we're canceling the apocalypse scene, which was great. Boyega is certainly no Idris Elba, but he is very charming and he is very likable, and he does have a commanding presence on screen. He has to kind of lead a band of plucky kids, which I think is my biggest problem with this movie. I have no problem with kids, and I like family movies, and I like seeing kids that are competent do kinds of cool things like pilot Jaegers. But it really sort of turns this into kind of a space camp slash juvenile Top Gun kind of vibe, and it takes the teeth out of the experience a little bit, no pun intended, because you just don't really believe the conflicts. There's no real stakes with these younger people, it removes a little bit of the menace, because they're not going to be slaughtering the kids too much. There is a little bit of danger and death and destruction in this for sure, but it feels not particularly nasty. And I think one of the great things about the first Pacific Rim is that you'd be in the theater if you're an adult that's grown up loving giant robots and giant monsters. Who doesn't like giant robots and giant monsters? Anyways, you'd be in the theater and you'd be kind of looking around going, should I be enjoying this much? And because it was quirky and weird and just sort of leaned into its anime influences in a massive way, this one feels much more like a safer bet from the studio, and you can kind of understand it. You realize that this was an unlikely sequel because the first movie was a little bit so quirky and weird and campy, and I was surprised that this got made, happy that this got made. And I got to tell you, Boyega's good. Scott Eastwood, who just sounds just like his dad, Clint Eastwood, it's pretty fun to watch his sequences in here as well. I like the plucky kid who has built her own Jaeger at the beginning of the film. She's solid in here as well. Listen, I had a smile on my face for big chunks of this thing. I wasn't blown away, and I certainly was sort of scratching my head at some of the plot decisions and some of the ideas of bringing in all of these young warriors. But there's some beautiful sequences, some really cool effects, and at the end of the day, you're kind of going to see a Pacific Rim movie to watch these big epic battles, and in that standpoint, it does not disappoint. Pacific Rim is a lot of fun, and I do say that if you dug the first one, this is worth your ticket price to go see this on a big screen. I'm probably going to get this as a 4K Blu-ray, but I didn't love it. I'm going to give Pacific Rim Uprising a 6.5 out of 10.